Call the meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Arata?
Present.
Commissioner Bajaj?
Present.
Commissioner Anderson?
Present.
Commissioner Nafisi?
Here.
Commissioner Beely?
Present.
Commissioner Sal is absent. Chair Simpson?
I am here. Can we have the salute to the flag? Commissioner Arata, can you lead us, please?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, can we get a motion to approve the order of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the order of agenda.
And is there a second?
Second motion.
I think we can do that with a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries. Are there any additional blue folder items?
There are no blue folder items for tonight.
Okay. Okay, the consent calendar. These are items that we're going to act on all together, unless someone would like to pull one of them out and discuss that separately. Does anybody want to pull any of those out, or can we just do it as a consent calendar? And so, can someone make the motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Arata. Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay, again, I think we'll do that with a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have adopted that.
And for the
Oh.
record, there were no e-comments
Oh,
as well, so.
all right. Sorry about that. Should have asked. You'd think I'd learned by now.
That's okay.
Okay, public participation on non-agenda items. This is your opportunity to address the commission about anything at all that you want to talk about. It's related to the commission's duties. But if it's going to be something that's on the agenda, then we save your comments until then. Does anyone have any public comments on non-agenda items? Are there any e-comments on non-agenda items?
There are no e-comments on
Or
non-agenda.
any kind of comments then? None, okay. We have nothing continued from the previous agendas, items, discussion prior to action. And the first one, I guess, we're going to discuss reorganizing the committee and naming the chair and a vice chair. I guess I would ask for nominations if anyone cares to make a nomination.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Arata for chair.
Okay, do we need to second that? We do, don't we? Or just vote on the nomination?
I think she would need to accept the nomination.
We should ask if there's any other nominations.
And then, yeah, and if
All
there's-
right, well, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know what to do?
All right, are there any other nominations? Don't see any other nominations, but I think we need to have a roll call vote on this, don't we?
Is it possible to ask if anybody's interested? And if so, I'm happy to nominate them. Is that acceptable?
Sure, you can.
Is anyone interested?
Well, I've been doing it a long time, and I think it's time to rotate it to someone else. So and I think it's very good that Commissioner Rod is wanting to step up and be the chairman. So I guess we need a vote on that. She's been nominated, right?
Yes, and we can do chair separately from vice chair if you like, but we do also want to vote on a vice chair as well. So if you want to do it separate,
Let's do it separate, okay.
sounds great. So do we have we had a motion and a second?
Yep.
Can you remind me who made the motion
That was me.
and who was the second?
There was no second.
Oh, I thought,
We want to make sure she's.
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah.
so she
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
yes,
Someone
but I
else
do
second
need a
that?
second.
I'll second it.
Great,
okay.
thank you. So
All right, so we've got a motion and seconded. Shall we do a roll call on this one?
we'll do. Commissioner Arata,
Sure, aye.
Commissioner Bajaj,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Nafisi.
Aye.
Commissioner Beely.
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Now, so I guess you're now the chairman, so you should preside over the vice chair, right? She should preside?
Yes, so you can preside now. We also,
Yeah.
if you want to do,
Do you want to continue down to where, I mean, that's fine to like Jay and I'll come in afterwards.
Just finish this item.
Or however you'd like to do it, if you'd like to just go all the way down.
No,
Up
I
to
just-
you.
So we still need to do the vice chair.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can switch seats now if you like, or,
Let's do the vice chair and then we'll switch seats and you're the chair.
sounds good.
That'll be my last
do we-
little bit of chairmanship here.
You could finish the night out.
Yeah.
No, that's not, you turn it over when you're. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so anyone interested in being nominated for the vice chair?
I'm sorry, go.
No, you go.
I'll take it. I'd love to.
All right.
Okay.
I will happily
Yeah.
nominate Commissioner Bealy.
I'll
Is
second
there a
it.
second?
Yeah, second it.
Fantastic.
Now we need a roll call.
Commissioner Bajaj,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson,
Aye.
Commissioner Nafisi.
Aye.
Commissioner Bealy,
Aye.
and Chairperson Arata.
Aye.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right.
I thought this
Passing you
was
the
cut.
gavel, please take your seat.
I thought this was coming on to, you don't want to run it through the end of the night?
I should say chairperson.
Oh, thank you. All right. I thought that was coming up.
Welcome to the north side.
Except now this chair is not, there it is.
Okay, let's move on down to approving the affidavit of posting for the Public Works. And I'll wait for Lauren. Yeah, am I waiting for Lauren?
I think we're on J2 now.
Oh, we're in J2? Okay. Discussion and possible action on Avenue H, Messina neighborhood holiday traffic measures.
Okay, good evening, Public Works and Sustainability Commission. Ryan Liu, City Traffic Engineer. Just as some quick background and information, this item we provided noticing by mail to all the residents here shown in blue. So it's in the entirety of Avenue H, Circle Drive and Messina Avenue, east of Prospect Avenue. We also provide notice to residents on the west side of Prospect Avenue in the vicinity of this Avenue H, Avenue G intersection. And over here, you can see to the right, City of Torrance, and to the left is City of Redondo Beach. So some background on what's transpired to get us to this point. On the Torrance side of this area, there has been a lot of sort of informal neighborhood holiday Christmas lights, otherwise known as Seaside Holiday Lights, Torrance Christmas Lights, Torrance Candy Cane Lane. This type of event has been organized solely by the residents in the neighborhood, the Seaside Neighborhood Association. It's not an official City of Torrance event. And so this generally consists of residents putting up elaborate displays of Christmas and holiday lights, and has attracted a great number of visitors from around the region wanting to just celebrate the holidays at the end of the year. Naturally, this has generated a lot of traffic through the neighborhoods. As you can see here, there is actually no access to the Redondo Beach side of the neighborhood except at Doris Way and Avenue H. So for the past couple decades, the City of Redondo Beach has implemented a bollard closure of Avenue H right at the city border. That bollard closure lasts between Thanksgiving and New Year, generally 5 to 10 p.m. each night. Over here is a map showing roughly the area of the holiday lights, where they're most active, with PCH sort of cutting through on the southwest corner of this map. Some of the issues that we've heard in recent years were mainly surrounding trash and parking. What we've noticed is that there has been a lot of vending, some illegal, some legal, by, some of it is street vendors that are sort of pushing food around, and that is not legal in the City of Torrance due to not having 6-foot wide sidewalks. The other type of vending that has historically taken place in the Torrance side of the neighborhood is this cottage food operations, people selling food from their driveway from their private residence. So because of that, that's generated a lot of complaints from Redondo Beach residents about trash and parking and noise in our area. We've learned that as of this year, Torrance City Council has not allowed any vending in this area. So starting this year, besides enforcing street vending, roving street vendors not being able to vend in this neighborhood, residents are not allowed to vend food or drinks from their home after 5 p.m. So after 5 p.m. is generally when it gets dark and the lights come on. Residents will not be allowed to vend from their home. So we expect that the trash issue should be hopefully mitigated somewhat, at least. But we'll see. We'll keep monitoring that. The other big change that happened in the past year or two is the City of Torrance has implemented alternating side parking restrictions Friday to Sunday, 5 to 10 p.m. Their reasoning for implementing these parking restrictions is their streets are a couple feet narrower than the equivalent streets in Redondo Beach due to the uptick of traffic that sort of drives through this area during the peak holiday season. They found that there were issues with emergency vehicle access, people walking in the street. Just the general level of crowds required them to prohibit parking on one side of the street so that two-way traffic could be facilitated. I think what effect that has brought to Redondo Beach is that a lot of these visitors are parking on the Redondo side of the neighborhood. In addition, the Seaside Homeowners Association, the informal HOA on the Torrance side, they have a website and social media accounts talking about, FAQs on the Seaside holiday lights, and they actually encourage visitors to park in Redondo Beach near Toledo School, specifically streets in Redondo Beach. So those are some of the issues that we've been dealing with this event. So in the past couple months, we've met with Councilmember Nierenheim, and we've taken all the feedback from the residents that was received earlier this year. This first measure here is to provide updated and upgraded signage at the intersection of Avenue H and Prospect. Because there's going to be a daily, we will continue closing off the street at the city border each day, each night, each evening from 5 to 10 p.m. We will be putting up upgraded, much more visible signage showing that this street is not a through street. You can't drive through to the area and expect to enter the Candy Cane Lane area. So this shows all the different signage that we'll be putting up with some feedback from Councilmember Nierenheim. We will also be placing a changeable message sign at the entrance of this neighborhood showing, this street is local access only. You can't go through to Torrance or to other streets, and to remind people to put their trash in a trash can. The message is put so that it could fit on the changeable message sign and will alternate between those two messages. We will also place 2 trash cans along Avenue H and Messina area. So hopefully that the visitors who do come through are putting the trash in the trash can. Staff will continue to monitor these improvements to the signage and make adjustments as necessary as the event sort of starts and goes into high gear after Thanksgiving. We also reached out to Councilmember Nierenheim, and he said that he would reach out to the Homeowners Association, try to get them to back off on the parking directions. Hopefully, not encourage people to park in Redondo Beach and find other ways to enter that area. Councilmember Nierenheim is also going to reach out to St. Lawrence Martyr to hopefully they can provide some additional parking to relieve the stress on our neighborhoods. We also reached out to the school district, Toledo Elementary School. They've also noticed an uptick in parking, visitors parking in their area. Their parking lot doesn't have any gates, and at this time they've decided not to take any further measures to restrict any access to the school. Generally, their events end around 6 p.m. each evening, and so sometimes they see some visitors parking in the Toledo parking lot. We suspect that, if they're not going to be doing anything, this could relieve some of the stress by some of the visitors parking in the school rather than on the street. We also explored some other strategies that we considered infeasible. The first one here is permit parking. I think this was sort of an obvious sort of first step that we looked at. Unfortunately, the Redondo Beach Municipal Code 3-7.17, it's our section on preferential parking permits. It has highly specific requirements and determinations that have to be made to establish permit parking zones. The municipal code sections here are meant to address year-round parking issues that occur on a daily basis. specifically here in this code section, occurs at regular and significant daily or weekly intervals. And so we felt that this type of, parking issue where it's happening, sort of for generally on weekend days during the holiday season would not be compatible with the municipal code. And the big reason for that is that in order to establish a permit zone that's enforceable with tickets that are defendable in court, we have to follow the Redondo Beach Municipal Code with preferential parking permit regulations. The other strategy that we thought about was matching Torrance's Friday to Sunday, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. parking restrictions. Unfortunately, we didn't really find, a very good justification to prohibit parking on the Redondo Beach side. And this type of parking restriction would apply to anyone, to any member of the public. Whether we prohibit parking on one side of the street or both sides of the streets, we don't have a strong justification or nexus for doing that. And, prohibiting parking in this area on weekend evenings during the holiday seasons probably has the most impact on the local residents who are typically, hosting family, hosting visitors, having holiday parties. Doing a total parking prohibition would have undue impacts on our own residents as well. So this is why, at this time, we're not proposing any new parking restrictions, but we hope that, with the additional trash cans, with the additional signage, and the prohibition on vending on the Torrance side, that hopefully this year's holiday traffic effects will be a little bit less compared to previous years. And so that's my presentation. And I think some of the available alternatives is to recommend staff advance these neighborhood traffic measures to the city council for approval. Every year, as a consent item, we bring the bollard closure over to the city council for approval. They've always approved it, and this year, depending on the recommendations of the commission, we will include those additional signs and strategies as discussed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Just quick question, like out of curiosity, those bollards that are placed, they're placed in at 5 p.m. every day. So is that city staff that goes in and install them, or you have a contractor that does it?
City staff that does that. So we also service the trash cans. I think we've typically hung like a trash bag at the city border each year. We're trying to get a real trash can and something that's more visible. But yeah, the city staff that services that area each day.
So that same city staff would now go deploy the additional traffic control devices like the barricades and the CMS sign will probably just stay there.
We're actually thinking of keeping all that signage up throughout the holiday season. Because even if the road is open, it's not really that big of a deal if there's a no outlet or not a through street sign.
Okay.
So we think that just leaving it up for the holiday season should be okay.
But I guess if they'll be there like nightly, they can at least maintain it, like,
Yes.
pick up any barricades that might have been knocked down or whatever. Got it.
Free to go. I'm assuming this major issues with relative to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, correct? This is Monday through Thursday, this isn't a major issue?
That's what we suspect, although the public might have some opinions or feedback they can provide to us. But I think, yes, Friday to Sunday is the busiest time, generally when people are able to get to that area outside of work hours. So Friday to Sunday has typically been the busiest time.
With respect to the permit pass, like they do with resident passes in the Rose Bowl, right? We could ultimately go back to the council, get that to be as code and then enforce it. And we could even potentially just do it for certain nights of the week, correct? We could do Thursday through Sunday. It could be all conditioned. Or would we just want to do it from Thanksgiving to New Year's?
I think what we're trying to say with the permit parking is that the way the municipal code is written, it's geared towards parking issues that happen on a daily basis.
Right, but I'm saying if we adjust it, if we actually go revise the code, right?
Yeah.
We could do whatever we want.
Yeah, like a revision to the municipal code could create opportunities to create, make some more creative parking permit zones, some more creative strategies, give some more flexibility to that. I think there has been some desire to do that in the past.
Okay.
But obviously can't be implemented for this year, but could be something considered for next year.
We don't have parking enforcement down in the village during that time of year, correct?
for what the metered parking?
The meters are bagged for a portion of that time. I don't know if it corresponds to the exact time. I think this year they shortened it actually in the budget discussions.
Is there a way to potentially take that staff? I don't know how many staff we have for parking enforcement during that time. Is there a way to move that staff over to this area during those hours from 5 to 10?
There would be nothing to enforce necessarily. So what?
I was
what
thinking
end?
just standing on Prospect and just having a more general deterrence for residents that come in there.
We'd have to ask PD. That's kind of their realm.
Okay.
We don't really inform their deployment. We inform, we don't decide their
Yeah.
deployment.
I think one thing we can speak to is that generally with park enforcement, there's more municipal service officers during business hours, and generally after the business day closes, it's usually taken over by people on patrol. So there can be some difficulties, depending on the prioritization of their calls. But I don't think we have the same level of parking enforcement staff in the evening compared to the daytime. They're mostly doing street sweeping during the day.
Right, okay. And when you say traffic, you're really specifying, the complaints are really relative to parking, correct? It's not through pedestrian traffic? Is that the main concern with the residents on these 3 streets?
What we've heard from the residents earlier this year is, mainly parking, traffic, and trash, sort of a combination of all 3, and just, general quality of life issues.
Okay.
Commissioner Nafisi?
Couple things. I know that trash, I've walked through there several times, and I think it was because of the vending. One, I don't know if you can communicate this to the homeowners association or have that conversation, is just encourage residents to leave their trash can out. And while it might impact your own trash can, it certainly just helps, cleaning up the street. I know I throw a really big Halloween party and we ask all the neighbors to leave their trash cans out, and there's virtually 0 trash left over. So it's problematic in which people use your trash can, but then you don't have to clean it up. It's just something to think about. But on that note, is there any way that Athens could do like disposable trash cans like around the Redondo side, just to kind of help mitigate that? Is that something that you could ask for, especially on the weekends? Because people always go like grab hot chocolate and stuff and walk through there.
Yeah, there'd be some cost associated with that. Athens does do that service for a number of defined events, but we define that list every year at the beginning, and I do not believe it includes this event, but
Okay.
something to consider for the
Yeah.
future. Yeah.
So who defines the list? The council?
No, we do in our negotiation with Athens every
Okay.
year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think with the trash cans that we're speaking of, the 2 trash cans that we're proposing, that will be, mainly done by public works staff. So it won't be through Athens, but it's just sort of a side service that we're providing and can carry in the back of their truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe just on the weekends, because there's increased traffic on the weekends and people grabbing stuff. And then, I clearly have a bone to pick with the school district, but is there any way, and I see in your report that you guys have had conversations with Seaside, the school, but there's also South High right over Cali Mayor, right? So that's an option. Like, is it possible to speak to Torrance about getting like some type of shuttle bus to shuttle people over and drop people over? I just want to make sure that we're maximizing every opportunity instead of impacting the residents before we like go and change everything on our side. I would love to explore that. I see that you guys have also explored Tulita, but it's a very small parking lot. There's like, 50 parking spots in there. Helpful, but not too helpful given that time of year. And then the last thing is, I'd be really opposed to any type of parking restrictions, because all that does is just pull the traffic away from this area into other areas of the city, which will also be impacted. So I feel like that solves nothing besides just spread more traffic out and impact more residents to be upset at us. So I guess all to say, if we could just think about a comprehensive plan that includes the schools and maybe some more mitigations from Torrance, I think would be really helpful.
Yeah, we did all the communication with Redondo Beach Unified for Toledo, and we deferred to Councilmember Narenheim on any, I believe he was going to attempt to reach out to Torrance Unified or any other Torrance institutions on their side of the neighborhood.
Because they have a school inside too that people could park in.
Yeah, that's something we also looked at too, and he was going to reach out to the.
And a golf course.
Yes.
Too, right? Like there's a lot going on over there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
Just to kind of summarize what Commissioner Nafisi said, I think that's how I understood what the action plan is now, right? Is no parking restrictions, some additional signage to bring awareness of the existing closure and the trash bin. So I think that seems to be like what, if we make a motion to recommend the staff advance the plan, that is the plan.
That's correct. So in addition to the daily bollard closure, we would just better refine and better institutionalize the signs that we're putting out and the trash cans we're putting out.
That's great. I'd love to hear from the.
Yeah, do we have any public comment on this?
We have several cards already. Jennifer Bell and then Peyton Bell.
Come on up and welcome.
Oh, okay. So when you come up, just state your name.
Okay. Hi, I'm Peyton Bell, and then I live on Messina Avenue with my mom. So I was seeing some of the reports and then the updates for the street signage. I think it's going to be good that there's more signage at the top of Prospect and Avenue H. A really big issue was the sign that was placed in the middle of the lane. So before, I don't know if you've driven by that area, it's also a terrible light. It's a three-way stop, and most people just think it's a roll-through stop sign. So the stop is halfway down the hill for us residents to turn in if you're going left. And then the people at the top have that immediate right hand. So a lot of the times they just roll through that into the neighborhood. And at the top of the street, there's no parking prohibits or anything like that. So people park at the very top of that street. I don't know if we can pull up a picture of Avenue H. So the sign used to be placed right in the middle of the lane. So when you're trying to turn left or you're turning right into the lane, you're trying to fit between that huge sign and then whoever's been parked at the top, as well as every single spot down until the crosswalk at Messina and Avenue H. So if we can put the signs either at the top of Avenue H, so cars can't park at those two top of the Avenue H where it touches Prospect, it would be really helpful for both exiting Avenue H and entering Avenue H, since that's a lot of the issue with pulling into that street. It's also really low visibility. Turning, you're coming from Prospect and then getting into there is all those cars parked along Avenue H, and a lot of them are getting out of their car to then go walk with their family through the Christmas lights. So like there's strollers in the middle of the street and both lanes are parked all the way up. So all those people who are, trying to get into the lights, they're putting their things into the street. And so when you're trying to, get into your home, get into the neighborhood, or you're someone looking for parking in that area, you're having to navigate everyone exiting their cars because it's not really a parking lot, it's a through street. So what that also does is it creates that traffic flow into Toledo. And I don't know if you've ever tried to pick up a kid from Toledo, but that light is a mess. And so not only are they trying to go straight into Avenue H, they're trying to go left into Toledo. So they're standing at that light and turning their left turning signal on. And residents who are trying to get into, Messina are waiting in a huge line or trying to go around. And then just think about all the traffic and safety issues with someone trying to go around, someone turning left. I mean, it happens every day at 3 p.m. At Toledo just for getting out at school. So I know they said they can't do anything about the resident parking permits only, but it is a really big safety issue along Avenue H and then feeding into the Messina Parkway. So that would be what my big issues is for the signage in the neighborhoods. Thank you.
All right, next we have Isabel Heidewell.
Hi, everyone. My name is Isabel Hidawal. I'm going to reiterate what Peyton said as well. So that one spot, if there's any way during the holiday season where we could at least have a no parking for that first 1 or 2 cars so we could pull in safely, that would be great because it's such a thin, we're going at like a 2-mile-per-hour turn into onto Avenue H. It's slim margins and people are walking too. we can't always see, and we have to pull out just to have visibility. And just in general, it would be almost nice on those stop signs, it is almost a four-way stop, right? It's just this weird intersection on each side. If we have a little thing that says four-way stop on each side, that would be great, because I know a lot of people just start it. They don't, that Toledo gate, that the fence kind of blocks, when you jet out from Avenue H, going onto Prospect, that Toledo gate blocks somewhat your view. And if someone's parked right on that top of Avenue H, visibility is really low on that, so it would just be nice. And then also going back to garbage, 2 garbage cans is not adequate. It's gonna need a lot more, at least 4. I would say 2 on Messina, 2 on Avenue H. I know my mom complained to Athens because the amount of trash last year, it was crazy. And even with those 2 pop-up ones, it was overflowing every day. And right, it's, people bring Starbucks, they bring it in, it doesn't really matter about the Torrance portion of it, of those vendors. It's Starbucks cups, diapers, all those things, right? And so, and it's usually dumped right before the Messina Parquet. Yes, we have some trailing down the road, but really, Messina Parquet, Avenue H, you see the hefty load of trash. And so where we could have those trash cans lining maybe on Toledo, and then at least 2 on Messina as people exit, would help. So I know Athens last year put 2 up for us. So where we could have more, and especially the week of Christmas, it needs to be, it's a lot more rampant. It's just not just on weekends, week of Christmas, craziness. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you, you guys.
I have Susan Maisley and Bill Coleman after.
Hello. I live at the end of Circle Drive, and part of the problem is, I think, due to the stop sign, but part of the problem is also that we are just a dead-end road, and people pull down there and they look for parking, and then they are trying to turn around on a dead end all evening long. It's 2 cul-de-sacs, and people are coming down my cul-de-sac, blocking me in, turning around, trying to get out. And if we did push the traffic, if we were able to, in a future year, if not this year, push the traffic out of our neighborhood, we would be pushing it into through streets at least. And we're so blocked up. My neighbor told me, the neighbor that couldn't make it here tonight, she said her daughter took an hour to get home because you can't get through. I mean, it's just dead stopped with cars creeping down to the end, U-turning because there is no parking, and then pulling out again. We parked a half-mile away and walked in. My kids didn't come home one night because you just can't get through. So if we could push the parking out into the other neighborhood, they don't have the same issue as us. They're not a dead end. It's not safe. If there was any kind of an emergency, my neighbors are in their 80s. There's another elderly woman around the corner. There's little kids. It's just not safe. And people are just pulling in, and they take 20 minutes to turn around and get out through that god-awful stop sign. And while they're at it, they change their baby's diapers and throw them on the ground and leave us with all kinds of crap. So it's not just the parking, it's the traffic that doesn't move. And so I would really love to see parking pushed out, or if we could possibly even have a police officer for a few hours a night, just directing cars that come down there. It says no through traffic, but nobody listens. If they were coming down, if they were asked, are you through traffic? Yes, well, there's no parking, go out through Toledo, go park somewhere else. I know that's up to the police department, but it's safety. It's just plain old safety. It's inconvenience, but it's safety too. And it's insane right now. I don't know how I would get out if I had to get out. And
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead and state your name.
My name is Bill Coleman. I also live on Circle Drive. I hear the issue with the trash, but I think the biggest issue by far is we become a Costco parking lot. Everybody pulls in and they're going to sit and stop and wait until the next available spot comes open. And, you know, many times to get into our area at night between 5 and 10, it's well over half an hour to go the last 2 or 3 blocks. And for me to get out at night, the same story. If we need to go up to the drugstore, the grocery store, it's a half an hour, 45 minutes just to get out of our neighborhood. Because why? Because everybody comes in and says, oh, here's a car. They look like they're going to be getting in that car. Let me just wait here right in the middle of the roadway while they wait for the next car to pull out or whatever. If it was no parking, if we could just do what Torrance did. Torrance last year did that and it freed it all up. And that's Friday through Sunday, which is when the big parking occurs. That everything started to move in Torrance. Up till then, everybody in Torrance was playing the same game, okay? So we really need some way to get no parking in those 3 blocks, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I think most of the residents would figure out a way to park in their driveways or whatever and just put up with it for 3 or 4 days rather than having to spend a half an hour to get in and a half an hour to get out or more on a weekend. So that's where for me, the real pain is. This is ridiculous that I have to, or I have to park 2 blocks away and walk in and walk back out if I want to go back to my car. So anyway, that's my issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Scanlon?
Hi, I'm Mary Claire Scanlon, and I live at the end of Messina Avenue, which is a cul-de-sac. One of the things I would say is that I just want to support what Peyton and Isabel said earlier about the dangers of the intersection at H and Prospect with that signage. The biggest dangers, as a person who's coming home, is that there are people parking all the way at the top. The sign itself takes a lot of space. And getting in and having all these people who think that since the street is a dead end and closed off, that they can just walk around in the middle of the street. They don't realize that there are people who are coming home, who are still needing to go down that street. So I really would like to see some addressing of that. And Isabel pointed out that during the rest of the year, that fence at Toledo makes it difficult to see around anyway, especially when there are banners up there. It would just be great not to have the first couple of parking spots up at the top of that all year round be freed. We do also have a problem, people thinking for some reason that there's a secret back entrance into Torrance on our streets. And I think that is actually why a lot of people come down the streets. It's not just to look for parking, it's because they're convinced there's a secret way in. We don't have the luxury of having a very wide driveway, and we have 3 cars. So prohibiting parking, especially since we're at the very end of the cul-de-sac, would be difficult for us. So I don't know that that's the solution, but I am very sympathetic to the difficulty of getting in and out because of the traffic. So whatever can be done to address that would be welcome. And in terms of signage, just posting signs up on the top that say, you know, like holiday lights, no entrance, somewhat effective. Like my thing about the big sign in the middle of the street is there's no blinkers or anything on it, so you can't even see the sign because it's so dark. And so people hit it all the time. I just really wish that whatever signage is there would be very well lit and that you would put blinkers on it. I know somebody told me that a few years ago they did that, but the blinkers kept falling off, so they just stopped doing it. So I would just urge that you make that signage very visible. And I agree also, we need more trash cans. 2 is not enough. So Thank you.
So that was the last person who gave their name, but anyone else who'd like to come, please feel free to come on up and speak.
Well, my name's Keith Fournier. I live down at the Yellow Post, the last house on Avenue H, and I understand what they're saying about the U-turners, but myself and the neighbors probably have the worst U-turn in the middle of the street because they can't go any farther, so they turn around. I've had my car hit. It's hit and runs. My neighbor's car's been hit and run. So it's a continuous thing. They do their 27-point turn because they're not smart enough how to turn. And hit the car in the driveway, they hit the car on the curbs. They just took out, we watched people ram the yellow posts thinking they're plastic or rubber, and it's comical. You guys are all invited to come down and watch anytime you want. But it's sad to watch the people, what they do and how they act when they get down there. Someone brought up the fact about trash cans. All of our neighbors put out trash cans. We got tired of picking up the trash. They're all full. I've never seen a trash can left by the city, maybe up on Messina. We leave all of our personal trash cans out, so we don't have to pick up as much trash. My main thing is it's not some nights, it's not the weekend nights, it's every night. If Christmas is on a Thursday, then it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the weekend. So it depends on where it hits. So you can't say it's only weekends, it's every night for 2 to 3 weeks. The vendors. Torrance has instituted it, so they chase them over past the yellow posts. They park in front of our house. Still have a grease spot in my front yard from where they set their vending up last year then and weren't chased away. So when Torrance doesn't enforce it, then they come over, then they go back when Torrance walks away. So it's just a back and forth. And it's not just Christmas, it's Halloween too. In 2 nights we'll be inundated again, which it's fun, but the trash is still the trash. And you know, humans are humans, they're gonna do what they're doing and we can't stop them. So I've never, and I said before, I've never seen a trash can put out by the city. We've talked to the guys who put the posts up every day. They come from the pier, I believe. Good guys, really nice. They get cussed at a lot because they put the post up 2 minutes early or 1 minute late or whatever it is. People are yelling at them. All doing the job great. It's just, it's a tough job when it comes time to close and people are racing to get home. So if anything, the emergency vehicle is my primary worry is if there's any emergency down there, they're not getting in. The sign at the top is what people have brought up, but hopefully you're gonna be changing that. But it's just blocked. We watch people pull that sign over to one side so they can get in, and then the other people pull it back so they can get out. So it's kind of comical almost, but again, the main thing is some kind of enforcement. The vendors themselves, they don't make the trash. They hand it out and everybody leaves it, but they seem to clean up after themselves. But it's the fact that they're just back and forth being chased and there's nobody stopping it or whatever. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Zara Cartledge. I live at the top of Circle Drive. You know, all of the above of the concerns of my neighbors, but really, I'm an ER nurse and my husband's a first responder, so the gridlock into our cul-de-sacs really is an issue, and I've had concerns about this for the last couple years as well. I have 3 boys that are used to playing in our cul-de-sac, and while we're always trying to tell them to come in, and this isn't the time of year, I do have concerns about the access. So, what else? That's really it. It's the emergency access that concerns me. The trash is trash, but it's not dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else can come on up. They'd have to allow you to speak again. I mean, if someone wanted to make that motion.
I'll make the motion to allow her to speak again.
I'll second.
Voice vote, everybody?
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to actually support what was being said about the vendors, because the vendors have been moving, actually, because they figured out that if they're in front of Messina Parquet, they won't really be bothered. And, well, they do clean up after themselves, that's true. It is just really another traffic nuisance. So I really would appreciate it if, I don't know that we really see police coming down because it is so congested, but if there was somebody who periodically came down, directed traffic, or told the vendors that they needed permits and they had to move, whatever, it would really be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So if there's no more public, there's no one on Zoom at this time that would like to speak, and we do not have any e-comments.
Commissioner Fisi?
Question, have you guys explored a movable barrier from Prospect going into Avenue H, one way? Has that ever been explored?
Are you talking about putting a barricade at Avenue H and Prospect?
Yeah, so that you can only go out. It kind of just helps traffic, right? People can't turn in and do can't turn on to Avenue H, but they can come out. Has that ever been explored?
But that's the only way into the neighborhood.
How would the residents get in?
So they could go around the barrier, right? Just the residents only? Or is there just too much traffic? I mean,
we can't.
but there wouldn't be a lot of traffic coming out if you think about it, because that barrier is there on the end.
I think we'd be creating a liability issue for the city by, blocking a certain direction and then kind of allowing people to go the wrong way. If something were to happen, that would be on us.
Okay, fair. But they could also enter through Tulita, is that correct?
Well, they could. We can't really, as a city, take advantage of that private property for that purpose. Yeah.
But you are going to talk to Nils about having people park there. Is that correct?
If they agree to parking, that's one thing. If they agree to let us use it for through traffic, that would be even better.
Okay.
People will do that anyway, but yeah.
So like hypothetically, I'm saying you could put a movable barrier there. If residents wanted to go into their neighborhood, they can move the barrier. Is that correct?
No.
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 Is it because the whole street has to be blocked off? Is that the idea when you have a movable barrier?
Well, we can do the barricade at the city border because, it's at the city border.
But that's not helping the through traffic that they're complaining about. Like
Right,
it's
it
really
doesn't.
doing nothing, actually.
I think
So when you say movable, do you mean so that somebody pulling up in a car can get out of their car and go move the barrier, pull through, and then put
I
the
mean,
barrier
that's
back?
hypothetical, yes.
Yeah, I think that creates a bit of a traffic liability as well. And maybe a challenge for some people to move.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause it sounds like the through traffic is becoming the problem. So even, did we have the light up sign last year as well?
I don't believe we did. So if we go back to the slide showing the sign plan, I think this answers some of the public comment that was received as well. So we're not proposing to put any sign in the middle of the street where the yellow line is. We'll be putting all the signage sort of where the parking lane would be, or actually, as of this year, this is technically not a parking space anymore. So we'd be putting the signage at the sides of the road so that there's still, access to get in and out of the street.
And would the sign say no through traffic?
Yeah, it says no outlet here. This is the official sign that's allowed. So all the signs and barricades that are proposed here, these are, full-size traffic signs, reflective. So they'll be visible from the street just like any other traffic sign. And we are proposing to put the blinking lights on top of the barricades so that they're more visible at night.
Can I propose that you change the message when it says local access only, you write no through traffic? Because local access still gives a connotation that they can go through. I think that's not clear enough for some geniuses on the road.
Yeah, we could have it say.
I think no through traffic,
no
it's a
through
very
traffic.
clear message. It's pointless to go down here because it's a dead end.
Yeah.
Local access just means, oh, I'm local. I mean, I live in Torrance. I can go this way, right? I don't.
Yeah, we can have
just be
it
a little
say
clear
no,
with
no
these
through
really
traffic.
special friends. Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Beasley?
Is there any way we can move the barricade at the city line to end like at the property line of Toledo?
The
So we would
whole-
actually be moving it up above Messina?
The current bollard barricade that's at the city border is actually cast into the street. So these are actually bollards that are actually stuck into the street. So it would involve some major construction to modify that.
Maybe some barricades then and just block the street off before Messina?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Some barricades that could be put in place before Messina?
So
Or
the
again,
problem
we're
with
looking at that
barricade, yeah, the
traffic.
problems with the barricades in the street is they barricade everybody, and we
can't
there's no way to
discriminate
do
between, yeah.
discretionary access unless we have it manned by police enforcement, and we would have to approach the police department with that idea. I've kind of done some quick math here, and I'll talk to the chief tomorrow about potentially providing some solutions with enforcement.
Commissioner Bajaj?
Yeah, just, we have some similar issues in the LA area around the Hollywood Bowl with selective access to that. And so there's definitely some other issues and some California Vehicle Code stipulations that really limit what can and can't be done to letting only select folks through in terms of like how it operates and just sort of the legality around it. But it seems like, these proposals here, getting that message out to hopefully reduce a lot of the, just sort of unnecessary circulation in your neighborhood. And you all brought up some really good points with, parking and maybe some visibility issues or placement of the signs. I think in moving this proposal forward doesn't mean it's set in stone. A lot of this stuff is movable, right? If the location of the changeable, the electronic changeable message sign is not ideal, I'm sure there's going to be still open communication with our city staff. So it is kind of an adaptive, iterative process. And then, if there's a need, operational need, once these new traffic control devices are in place to, maybe add a little bit of red curb to restrict one parking space or something, I'm sure, Andy and Ryan's team are going to be continuing that discussion. So, just understand that if we move these proposals along, it doesn't put an end to the conversation. It's just a first step towards a more comprehensive solution.
Maybe a traffic cop on with their lights on, just being posted there for that amount of time. What is that, from like 5 to 10 p.m.?
Commissioner Facey?
I think that would be really helpful, but I also want to be sensitive to the things that the officers have going on in the community. What about the cadets? I mean, I would see cadets
Yeah.
out there, just like get the
Right.
cadets out there,
Right.
Friday, Saturday to help direct traffic.
Yeah, these are
be really
great
helpful.
questions. Unfortunately, this is my first year in this job, so I haven't really been involved with it in the past. So I'm curious, because we've been doing this for a long time. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions tomorrow of law enforcement and see what they've tried, what's been accepted, not acceptable, deemed that something they can do. Even ideas like, is there a grant available for this? Can the city of Torrance Police Department give us a little assistance because they're arguably creating part of the problem? Some of those kinds of questions.
All of the problem.
Well, they'll never admit to that, but
Yeah, but I think what we're trying to propose here are things that can be done within the public works side of things,
Right.
pieces of infrastructure that we can deploy and adjust as time goes on.
Commissioner Anderson?
So I see it as two main issues. There's the trash element, which I think we should recommend putting up more trash cans with respect to where the feedback is from the community members on where they see the most trash laying out on the street to kind of mitigate that. I strongly oppose just a blanket no parking restriction. The whole purpose of this is to improve the quality of lives of the citizens in this area. I think there's 3 tiers. I think Bhuvan said it well in that this is the first step, and I think with 5 weeks to go until this starts, I think this is a great start to see how it goes. in addition to potentially even mitigating or eliminating the parking on the beginning of the return to curve there on H. I think a second one that we could take a potential look at is per my previous discussion about having, like you said, a cadet or staff member, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, potentially just standing out there to kind of just have a greater deterrence. In addition to it, if there's a great concern about having parking and it just overflowing, working with the school district, maybe with the council member, Nils Nierenheim, to potentially allow access onto Prospect. I know it's 2 ways out, potentially seeing if they could alternate it for those hours. So that way you could have 1 way in, 1 way out, and then have back-in parking. And then you would restrict parking off of H, or restrict access off of H. So if anybody wants to park in that region, they could go through there, and that would be it. And then for a much more formal solution in the long term for next year, seeing about potentially having resident passes in this area.
Yeah, I think any modifications to our municipal code to allow parking permits for, more unique circumstances like this, we would require, some referral from a council member perhaps, and sort of a really deep dive into our preferential permit parking code section. Because I know there are a number of things that may want to be changed as part of this.
Yeah, and I think in a city as, special as Redondo Beach with all the events, this could be open for a much wider discussion, right, on preferential parking for certain events.
I have some comments. Have we done a feasibility study on that street? Like they mentioned, the Avenue H and Toledo having the signage up where it's hard to get in and out. I live right over there, and this event has grown, huge. So we can just assume it's going to be getting bigger. And how can you, they've done such a great job with like Seaside Lagoon, coordinating those big events. This is, a small area in comparison. Are you able to reach out to the police department to see what they come up with in regards to this?
Yeah, like I said, I'm sorry, I don't have the experience of history here, but I will be checking into that
Yeah.
tomorrow first thing.
So, and the feasibility study, is that something that we can
Feasibility
include
of,
in our recommendation? Like just a study on that street to see that, everything's the way it should be, as far as like the resident mentioned coming out of Toledo parking lot, you can't see. So like views or the sight line.
yeah, I think that's part, that'll be part of the overall, process as we monitor the traffic in this area. Once these signs are put in, this type of feasibility is just something that we do on an ongoing basis. And as, comments come in, certainly things like visibility at the school could be a code enforcement issue. If there's any signs that block the corner view, above 36 inches, things like that. We have existing tools, with code enforcement to regulate those types of things.
And new state law does require the 20 feet behind the crosswalk there on the outbound side of Avenue H, the westbound direction, is illegal parking. Now, as of January 1st, we won't need to mark it, but maybe marking it in this case would be a good idea just to communicate that change.
Commissioner Bajaj?
I think right now I'm going to put out the motion that we do move forward with the staff recommendations, just to make sure we start seeing some progress here. As I mentioned, I don't think it's going to end the conversation, but I think it's a good jumping off point, to get to the desired end goal. So I'm going to make the motion that we advance the staff's recommendations.
Can I make a friendly amendment?
Sure.
I want to make sure that the sign says no through traffic, and I want to request a minimum of 4 trash cans instead of the proposed 2. So at least 4, however many you can put, but at least 4 would be.
Yeah, we will try to put as many as we can. I think one of the challenges is how many trash cans can actually fit on that public works worker's truck.
Oh, sounds like one of trips. So 4 is what
We will try to
Okay.
add more than
All
2.
right.
Yeah.
That's my friendly
That's the
amendment.
friendly, I'll second if I can.
All right. We've got a motion and a second. So Commissioner Simpson,
Aye.
Commissioner Bajaj,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Nafisi,
Yes.
Commissioner Beely,
Aye.
Chair Arata.
Aye.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right.
We'll move on to J3, discussion and possible action regarding subcommittee recommendations for native planting and pollinators in the public right-of-way city-owned property and development standards on commercial properties.
One second. I'm going to switch to my control real quick. Thank you.
So I can just give a little background on this while she's setting up the screen there. So this was a strategic plan item from last year that was provided by the council to this commission to look into the issue of native planting and pollinators in city-controlled properties, parkways, medians, parks, and then also in private property, which is technically purview of the planning department, but the goal was to provide recommendations that the planning division, planning commission might consider adding to their development standards. We had a couple of presentations about a year ago from some experts in these matters. And then this group, this commission decided to form a subcommittee, and that subcommittee's been working offline together, meeting several people, the mayor. We've recently brought on a new urban forester who I believe you all met last month. He's been involved in some of the discussion about recommendations going forward. Also, the new strategic plan that the council just adopted last month or earlier this month, I think it was, includes further direction on this item for staff to come back with a report based on the information, the input that you all provide. So we are preparing to do that. I think we have a deadline of February 1st to do that. So we're hoping to bring in for a landing the recommendations of this commission either tonight or at the next meeting. So we'll have that in plenty of time to work that into our staff report by February 1st. So is that enough vamping for you, Lauren? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I think you took all of my items that I was going to discuss, but that's okay. So like Andy said, we do have our strategic plan goal of presenting, it would be staff's presentation of this commission's recommendations or input by February 1st, which means we need to go in January. And our meetings being the last Monday or the fourth Monday of the month, we only have time in October, that's this month, November, and December. So just food for thought when we're trying to plan and give feedback, because we definitely want to get your feedback to council. Let's see. So we've done several meetings, like Andy mentioned, and presentations. And tonight we've got the draft recommendation from the subcommittee. And they can present a little, maybe state their input, give their input on that as well before we get into the actual draft memo that potentially we could present to council. So I'll kick it over to.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've been working on this for you all, and we submitted it to the city, and then we got some of the red highlighting, which is some of the feedback. So have you all had a chance to take a look at it and any comments? I mean, we can, so our choices is we can submit it, or you can bring it back to the subcommittee and we'll make changes and then submit it to the city. So that's where we're at. Commissioner Simpson.
Yeah, I looked at it in the advance agenda, and I thought it was a very thorough, excellent job, and I would be inclined to vote to move it forward. I think the subcommittee did a splendid effort here.
Thank you. Lauren, do you have any questions for Commissioner Bealey or I on this document?
Yes. So what was presented to you tonight or is attached to this item was the subcommittee's form or their actual document with the city staff's comments. And so if, one of the comments and questions that we had was just wanting to make sure that the blue butterfly is what was the intent for the buckwheat planting and encouraging the migration down PCH, or if it was all butterflies. And so that would help us. We did have a few questions and statements of basically some of the items being difficult to enforce on private property. But again, Planning Commission has their own guidelines and recommendations that they've been making, similar in nature to what we're recommending, or what the subcommittee recommended for the public right-of-way. So, but that statement, why I wanted to make that clear. And then as far as this, there was a comment on the study and a feasibility analysis that we would actually take that to council as a recommendation from this commission. And then they would give us direction and financing for that with budget. And so just to let you know that we definitely would take that recommendation forward, but it won't move forward without council action. So just to clear that one up. And then our tree ordinance that was passed is to preserve all existing, not all existing trees, but it's a tree preservation ordinance. And so we just wanted to make sure that it's clear that we didn't want to replace existing trees with natives, because we actually are preserving the existing trees as they are mature trees. And so just wanted to make sure that that was understood, that we have an existing tree ordinance, and we don't want this document to be in conflict with that.
Sure. So, Commissioner Bealy, you want to take it from the top on some of these, and then I'll chime in on them?
Well, I think with the blue butterfly question, I think we were encouraged by planning in order to direct it in that direction.
So for the blue butterfly, because
Yeah.
they're, please correct me if I'm wrong, but they're very specific. It's actually the sea cliff buckwheat that has to be planted, and that's its only habitat. And so we just wanted to make sure that it wasn't the generic buckwheat, and that if the intent is for blue butterfly, we'll clean that language up to make it sea cliff buckwheat, just for making sure that we give a habitat to the blue butterfly.
Yes, that's what we were intending
Potential
to do.
habitat.
Correct.
Yes, potential.
Then going on down to the enforcement side of it, you said it might be difficult to enforce on private property, and we're going to discuss that. Excuse me.
So that would be on planning side of things, but like I mentioned, they're making their recommendations in the general plan. So it's just more for information on this side.
Okay. And as far as the poisonous plants, we had listed the saga palms, which was one of many. So I see that you took that out. That's fine. And then going forward, the study analysis, we know that's directed by the council. And as far as the last paragraph, we were thinking that perhaps we knew that that is a tree ordinance to protect the trees that were already there. But we were looking at the what if situation, like for some that are completely gone. So, like there's a tree ordinance with the inline trees, and a lot of them have been taken out, and there's just like concrete poured or whatever the
curb or medium between the sidewalk and the street.
So we were wondering if we, to encourage, like they could put trees or the native plants. That's what our thoughts were on that.
I'll speak into that. Our city council has given us direction every year to plant more trees. So we have a program of somewhere between 100 and 200 trees as a goal every year for planting. That's not to say there's not also room for other plant material. I think if we maybe could focus on planting in landscape areas with natives, that helps us do it a lot less expensively than demoing out concrete, adding irrigation, all that kind of thing that comes along with brand new landscaped areas. So we can certainly focus on landscaped areas a lot more effectively, quickly, filling those spaces up than we could if we're trying to remove concrete. And sometimes that concrete's there for other reasons, and we can't really take it away because of ADA issues or something like that. So, yeah, we very much encourage planting of natives where there's available unplanted or plantings to be replanted, future landscape repairs, if you will. We can certainly consider the native palette and highlight the native palette in those spaces.
I think the city should kind of be careful when it comes to planting trees where someone might have a beach view. I know what an issue that is in the Venice Playa area, so I just want to, as a word of caution, to negate any litigation with that. It goes ugly real quick.
Now, would that be a change in the policy on the, on this enforcement for the tree, for the ordinance 325123? I think what I was specifically thinking of is, like in the avenues, they've got some of the areas that are supposed to be inline trees, right? Well, they've taken the trees out and now they just put like that concrete, or not, it's not concrete, it's a mix of like cement and rocks and stuff. So in areas like that is what we were proposing. Because I feel like if there was trees there, they would have, all the piping would have been established. But I guess that's the property owner or
in front of
building.
residential spaces, that's the state law is that area is to be maintained by the adjacent landowner, property owner. And so when new development happens there, they're required to present a landscaping plan to the planning process, the entitlement and building process. Engineering actually reviews that, our team in Public Works. And we make sure that they're using species that are appropriate and a tree is included. Now that's part of our tree preservation ordinance that we add a tree back in just about every case. I think there may be some places where it's not appropriate, but yeah, that is the process right now that the city goes through.
So I think we're going to keep it included that we need to enforce the tree protection and preservation ordinance. What do y'all think? Yeah.
And if not necessarily for trees, but that area would be used as native landscaping or something like that instead. Is there anything that, do we have anything in place where the city could address areas, maybe in front of condos or apartments where they have cemented over that area that would have possibly have a green strip of medium in the past where the owners come in and said, "This is too much hassle for me," and just cemented it over? Is there anything that we could?
Yeah, our leverage really lies when a property owner redevelops or has to come in and submit plans for something. So it's pretty difficult for us to go back and a property that's been that way for 30 years to redo that parkway area at their expense. Now, at city expense is a different story. But again, then we run into budget limitations and those kinds of challenges that compete for those general fund dollars. So that could certainly be included in your recommendation that where possible, the city try and address maybe neglected parkways or parkways that could be upgraded when city funding is available.
Or an access Redondo call.
Well, probably not always an access Redondo call would do it unless it comes with a money bag.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it, it's something that you can reconsider, right? If you're already, it's already included in the strategic plan of updates
great
or capital
suggestion.
improvement
Yeah, just
projects,
that you highlight that as we do new projects. For instance, Manhattan Beach Boulevard, we're redeveloping medians right now, pulling out old turf areas, putting in water-wise type landscaping, natives included in that palette as well. But that we could just capture that in this kind of policy guidelines, that is the charge to staff to include that in our design motif, if you will, along the medians that we redevelop.
I had a question with respect to, this is talking about drought resistant plants, and then in the landscape regulations, we have drought tolerant. Is there a reason? I just don't want them to be conflicting necessarily. Is this guide is a higher level? And also too, if we do that, I don't want there to be a sense of complacency that there's still not an establishment period, that we still have to make sure these things, whatever that time period is.
Yeah, right. All of our install contracts, for instance, that we do through Public Works include like a 90-day plant establishment period. Sometimes it's even longer depending on the type of installation. So we're pretty mindful of that in terms of an installation. I asked the question about drought tolerant versus drought resistant, and I kind of got, oh, I think they mean the same thing. That was kind of the answer I got. So I don't think there's a hierarchy technically in those two terms. I think they mean essentially the same thing, but we'll get the right language. We'll talk to the pros and see what the right language is for the most appropriate language for that portion of it.
What was the consensus with respect to what they said with the word native? Because I don't want native to necessarily restrict the types of plants that we could potentially use, right? That's
Yeah.
a specific palette to California.
Well, there's a whole spectrum in preferences. Yeah. Yeah.
Purposes we want it to be native.
So there's California native is kind of what is commonly used, or maybe Southern California native, even a little more appropriate, perhaps even coastal native. But I think making it too restrictive is not necessarily meet the other needs of the parkways and medians, which is an aesthetic pleasing, look, because sometimes the coastal Southern California natives are dormant 9 months out of the year and they look like weeds, even if you maintain them. And so I think most of the landscape folks that we spoke to, including our own, said the approach is yes, pollinators, yes, natives, but don't be exclusive to that. Otherwise you end up with a landscape that is perhaps more organically true to the area, but not necessarily aesthetically what the residents are looking for.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That was a discussion I was having with a landscape architect today on this word, right? Which is like, just because it's native doesn't mean it's attractive or aesthetically pleasing or something you want necessarily.
Yeah, and that is a real need, as well as the need for the blue butterfly and the pollinators, is the aesthetic need. And we had this discussion about trees as well. Should we limit our tree palette to just natives? And somebody said, well, then you'd end up with, 8 or 12 foot scrubby trees that don't provide shade canopy or the other things we're looking for from our urban forest. So we don't want to be too specific about that and defeat some of the other purposes we're trying to meet through our urban landscaping.
I think the subcommittee was looking at more like not having invasive species, like, having people put up bamboo and stuff that goes 20 feet high. It's like it's not conducive to the neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, that's a great suggestion to include in the recommendations is, elimination or at least severe reduction of invasive. I'm a little unclear about the precision of that word. Does invasive mean anything non-native? If it does, then maybe we need to relax that word just a little bit. But certainly a mitigation against invasive species, especially the kind that take over, ice plant or something like that does harm to the environment in this area.
One other question is this for trees also, or is it a specific size of plant and below? Because I see the word tree in here, but it's kind of says plants a lot more.
Yeah. When we started, it was about pollinator plant species, kind of low-level pollinators for bees and insects and that kind of thing. Although trees can be pollinators too. We have a separate whole ordinance on trees. So I think the focus here was to do more low-level ground cover, aesthetic medians, that kind of planting, not just trees, or not specifically trees.
Should we strike out the tree language here? Should we?
I think you're just reinforcing what we already have in the code, so I don't think there's any harm in saying that, but that's up to the commission.
Thoughts?
I think we wanted to have something in there. I don't remember seeing it to the effect of we want to get rid of poisonous plants or plants that might be poisonous to pets or small people.
Yeah, I think it's towards the bottom of page 1, where you say limit the use of hazardous, and then we put in parentheses poisonous or thorny, et cetera, and invasive plants, fertilizers, insects, and landscaping that increases urban heating. Yeah.
Oh, I don't mind thorny plants. They're teachers. There's
But-
nothing like that bougainvillea to keep little kids away from certain areas. I know it worked for me as a child.
So if you want to modify that statement, but I think that was the intent.
That is our current practice when we review landscape plans, is people want to put in cactus or something. We don't allow that in the medians. And even what was the one, fire stick? That was the recent fad a couple of years ago, that real colorful, it almost looks like coral, that's orange and yellow and real pretty, but it's got a really aggressive sap, irritating sap to the skin. And so we've had to pull that out of a number of our own installations.
Poisonous to dogs.
Yeah, so we fully support that. We're doing that already. And that's great to put in policy, yeah.
Do we have any public comment on it?
One other question I have is that when it comes to approving plants in the parkway medians, do you usually go to the Parks and Rec to get those approved?
In the
What's typical
parkways and
process?
medians, no. What happens is when people submit their building plans for their redevelopment, they are required to produce a landscape plan. And then that gets transferred over to our public works, our engineering counter, and they involve the urban forester to come and review that.
Okay.
And then the inspector just makes sure that all gets installed per plan.
So we're looking for items like irrigation, making sure that they have the correct plants in that right of way.
Right.
In the right of way, we want to make sure that they're, first of all, the irrigation is the biggest thing, because there's a lot of places that do not have irrigation. They don't have irrigation to the tree out front. We want to make sure that those items are being taken care of. Then we also take a look at the plant palette that's in front of it. We don't have there's a lot of things that we can take a look at, and it's making sure that we don't have thorny, dangerous plants, that type of thing, how high they're going to get. Also, the other part in parkways is to make sure that they're not putting in any solid barricade statues. They're not supposed to be putting gardens,
Swings.
things, built up gardens, things like that. So
Cobblestones, loose stones, things like that somebody might want to pick up and throw at a car going by, something like that. So we try and preempt a lot of that stuff through our review.
So there's nobody on Zoom. And let me just double check your comments again, but I believe there is none. If anyone from the audience would like to speak? No?
Commissioner Nafisi?
Oh, I just had a question, because when I built my house, you guys made me tear down a tree. Do you ever encourage people to do the plans around the tree? Like, if I feel like if I would have known that, I would have just been like, do this and leave the tree.
Well,
is that like custom
that usually
practice?
happens in the building division more than it happens with us in engineering, but I think the tree ordinance did modify that a little bit. I'm trying to remember, there was a conversation about restricting the reasons that trees could be removed from the parkway during a redevelopment. If there was a way to accommodate the tree, then the tree was to stay. And so we're actually fighting a battle with a particular redeveloper on a parcel in the city, can't be too specific here, who keeps opining that he can move the driveway ever closer to this big old mature tree that we've said, no, any closer and you're going to damage roots and all that. So he's pushing pretty hard to get us to change our minds on that. We're so far holding our ground. It may end up back here. It was when he started in July of 23, his appeal was to this commission, which is what the tree ordinance says, if there's a dispute with the public works staff. And he ended up negotiating a settlement with the then director, Ted, and the matter was left alone until just very recently. And so you guys may hear about that in the future if he decides to keep pressing that.
Traditionally, when new developments are happening and the tree is in the way, the recommendation is you ask them to go back and change it, or no, you ask them to remove it? Because I was asked to just remove it. But like in retrospect, you could have just asked me to just redo my
So-
plans, and
I'll let
I
Lauren
would have
speak
just
to that.
done it because you told me to.
So
I
this
was gonna
tree
save the tree.
This tree ordinance is relatively new. I think it was, what, 2023?
Yeah, it's pretty,
And so that's as a result of many trees from developers not wanting to change their plans and instead removing the tree. They would just pay the value of the tree and have it removed. And that's what they would rather do than redesign their plans. And so now, to get ahead of that, planning, when a project is coming, you need to go in and talk to planning, touch bases with them. They're gonna look at your site. They will now note if there's a tree and let you know that the developer or homeowner needs to talk to engineering. And then we will let you know that there is a tree ordinance and policy to preserve the tree, and that it's going to be very difficult to remove your tree, which it's gonna have to be dying already practically for a tree to be removed. Otherwise, you will need to work around it, is
Good news.
yeah. So that's our policy at this point. Like Andy said, if they want to appeal it, we'll come back to this commission, but
I'm pretty
that's-
sure in most of the cases, the cost of the tree is pretty close to the cost to change the plans. At least it was in my case.
Yeah.
So I was, anyways. It's right. I'm glad we did this. It's good news. Looks like we're moving in the right direction.
I have one last question on the maintenance crew has signed off on all these, no concerns?
This is going to be a change. It's going to be a drastic change for the crews. It includes different types of irrigation, takes care, also will take different types of pruning, just plant maintenance, making sure that and also making sure that we're planting the correct material. We want to make sure our crews are trained well enough for this. It is going to take some time for us to learn about that, but we see where we're going on this. We've got a couple of projects that right out here in the courtyard that are going to be just like this. We're going to be following suit. So we are getting training right now. In fact, tomorrow our crews are getting trained from Hunter Irrigation on some items up at Performing Arts Center. So we have some stuff that's coming down the road with our new manager for parks maintenance, and it's nice to see, and we need to have change. We've been doing things the same way for a long time, and now that we're in water conservation, no matter what we feel about last year's rain, droughts do come back, so we have to be prepared for that.
So Commissioner Anderson, these are recommendations, right? This is going to go to the city council and they approve it all, and then they're going to add their, all of their information. And like we just said, poisonous plants, they're going to probably have a whole list of them. So each expert in each division of the recommendation is going to pick up and just kind of take it from there. Yeah, and then ultimately, if it's approved, it would be, it's going to go, like Lauren said, recommendation to the council in January, and then it'll be budgeted in March or earlier, correct?
If
If
they
they want
choose to
to,
do
if they
that.
want to proceed and push forward, right? And that's going to all be based on a lot of the feasibility study too, correct?
If they choose to do
If they choose to proceed,
yeah,
yeah.
typically the way it works is if they like the recommendation, they will ask staff to do something called a budget response report, which is kind of a cost estimate to do that work. And then they'll consider that all with their May, June timeframe budget deliberations, yeah.
So what'd you think? Any thoughts, any additions, subtractions?
For us now as a commission, is the goal then to make a motion to move this recommendation up to
Come to the council, huh?
up to city council? Is that what's being asked of us?
Correct,
tonight?
that's the goal. If you approve, if you have any, and this is your chance to give input or make any changes from what we've been working on.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I think it looks great, so I'd like to make a motion that this be forwarded to city council and that the subcommittee be commended for the excellent job they did.
I'll second that motion.
And just to be clear, you want, as the changes are proposed, to be incorporated, or?
That's correct.
Okay. Correct,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. And,
Have we had public comment on this?
well, I asked and he said no.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Do you have any comments?
no, okay, thank you.
Anybody online?
Comments?
There's nobody online and.
Thank you for checking.
And there's no.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Usually one or two, but.
Okay, so Commissioner Simpson,
Aye.
Commissioner Bajaj,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Nafisi.
Aye.
Commissioner Beely.
Yes.
Chair Rada.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank
Took
you.
a long time to do. Thank
Yeah, it's a
well
long
done.
time
That
getting it
was,
filed.
that was painful.
Good work. It's a big effort.
Thank you.
Good work. Well done.
We'll move on to J4, discussion and possible action regarding upcoming Public Works and Sustainability Commission meetings. Lauren.
All right, so this item here, let's see. Oh, shoot, it starts it over. Let's see, sorry. This item is to discuss the upcoming Public Works and Sustainability Commission meetings. We have our regularly scheduled meeting for November 25th, and that happens to fall on the Monday of Thanksgiving week. And we realize that many people either have the week off or they're traveling or it's holiday. So we wanted to determine if there would be a quorum for that particular day. Because we can set up a special meeting. December 23rd, we will be closed, and that is our regular scheduled meeting in December. And so since City Hall is closed, we will not be having that meeting. And then it would be a very long time until January. So we have a few available meeting dates, which is December 2nd. That's the Monday after Thanksgiving. We have December 4th, the Wednesday after Thanksgiving that's available, or December 18th, a few weeks later. And so I'd like to take a poll and see if you guys are, if we have a quorum first for the November 25th, then we can definitely hold that meeting. If not, then we would like to entertain one of these special meeting dates so that we hold a meeting and don't wait all the way until January. But at this time, I know not everyone was getting their emails, so I apologize for that, it seems. But we don't quite have a quorum yet for the 25th, so if you could provide any feedback, that would be fantastic.
I'm available all the dates.
Okay.
I'm available.
I thought you were just sharing. These are the possible.
I'm available.
The December 4th, I will not be able to make that meeting.
This,
4th.
no, that
Oh,
was the
sorry,
second.
December 4th.
Yeah. December 2nd works good for me,
What
so.
about the 25th, though?
Oh, the 25th I'd prefer, yeah, I think we're gonna have some travel plans.
I'm sorry, you,
Yeah, not available.
not
Not
available.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Rada?
I'm flexible.
Can you do the
Can you-
25th?
Uh-huh.
So if we go the 25th, then the four of you who have committed, we would need you all to show up, because if you don't, we don't have a quorum.
Well, why don't we,
Or we can look at the
What's
other.
best for staff?
Looks like the second.
Ideally, what is
yeah,
the
I think
best
the
for
second looks
staff?
best for everybody, you know,
Yeah, the
really have
second.
everybody here.
It's a working day, so staff will cover the meeting on any of those days. I happen to be traveling, but you don't necessarily need me here. Lauren is pretty competent, and Ryan does most of the good work
For
anyway. for this
December
group.
2nd?
So,
Ryan, will we be here on the 2nd?
Are you
Oh,
available?
perfect.
Are you Commissioner Nafisi?
Yes. I do not want to not show up and then be
Commissioner
blamed.
Simpson?
so it sounds
So
like.
you're
Commissioner
available on
Rada,
the
are you
second, right?
available?
Yeah.
So
Are
if
you
you
available on
mark
the
her as
second?
available on the second, then it
Yeah.
looks like we have
Yeah.
a majority of folks available, so.
Commissioner
Now,
Anderson?
we would also have a quorum on the 5th, but it just wouldn't be, it would only be four
Yeah.
of us.
Second is solid.
Yeah, the second
Yeah.
is solid.
Let's do solid
Can we just,
We can,
Let's ink it.
we can definitely, I will get it on the books with the city clerk's office and.
Need
So
to
then we
make a
would need
motion for a special meeting?
motion to cancel the meeting the 25th due to quorum concerns and schedule a special meeting on the 2nd of December.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, aye or nay, or a no?
All right, so.
Did
we'll
we
do-
vote on that? I didn't-
Yes, I'll do a vote.
Yeah, we're gonna do
Okay.
voice vote.
Commissioner Simpson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bajaj,
yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisi.
Yes.
Commissioner Bealy,
Yes.
Chair Arata.
Aye.
Please send us a reminder so we.
Yes, I will update the reminders and calendar and make sure that all gets updated. Okay.
It's good, it's only a 1 week.
Yeah, It's
Right.
very common practice, like LA Metro, right? We'll do one early December.
We do have a bit of an annual challenge with the end of the year because of the Thanksgiving holiday and Christmas, kind of where those things fall.
Yeah.
It might be something we do next year to kind of look at are the calendar dates set in the ordinance, Lauren, or are they in the bylaws? I think it's in the ordinance, isn't it?
We just
The meeting
changed our
dates?
ordinance.
Yeah, so we might want to just revisit that as, do something different in December, combine our November and December meetings or something, so we don't have to do this every year.
Okay, so.
It's very contingent on the days that are available because all of the other commissions also have their dates. So those were the only dates that this chamber was open. And I think that's the difficulty since they all
Yeah, it
changed.
was very difficult until this year when it became a little less difficult by combining several of the commissions into one. It was helped clear up a few dates.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we've got the motion, we've got it seconded, we're going to move on to member items and referrals to staff.
Correct.
Or Commissioner Bajaj?
I just want to thank Commissioner Simpson for 2 years of being our chair and doing a great job in leading us. And congratulations to Commissioner Arata.
Thank you.
And, some big shoes to fill. But
absolutely.
well done. I think you already started off really good. So,
Thank you very
yeah.
much, appreciate it.
As well as Vice Chair Bealy,
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
second that.
Yeah.
I have a couple of referrals to staff. I wanted to check
Commissioner
in with
Fisi,
you.
absolutely.
Thank you for your update on Dominguez Park. I was hoping to get any more updates.
Yeah, what I can share is that Dominguez Park, as you all know, is a former landfill.
Okay.
And it was made into a park in 1969 or some very long time ago date. Sometime in the last 18 months, the county's Department of Public Health has begun to pay more attention to their role as the one who monitors kind of old, closed, abandoned landfills. We're not abandoned, we were closed properly. So they do an annual test, they come out, and they do a nominal methane sniffer test and other things. But they've never commented on any project or anything we've ever done out there until this year, when they came out and they saw our construction project and they said, oh, wait a second, you need a permit from us to do that. And we were confounded. We had no idea that they had that jurisdiction. And I think it was partly maybe they were very distracted, obviously, during COVID and other things, but I think they're just getting their hands around this permitting authority. It's actually a legal enforcement agency for the state is how they're operating. So anyway, they put kind of a stymie on our project until we go through their process. We are so close to being done with this thing. We really just have to cover up the exposed ground is really all that's left to do. And so we are kind of negotiating with them to find a way to bring the project into completion and then go through some process to help them feel comfortable about what we've done and not make us take it out. So because it's been a park for a long time, we feel like we predate the laws that says that we have to go through them. So we feel like we have a good case to make for having a preemptive right as a land use. We may have to do some extra, soil testing or something to satisfy their construction era requirements. So we're engaging a environmental firm to help us synthesize all of the documents that we have from the past and present a thorough report to them. But hopefully, we just sent our letter off this evening to, that's our third letter to say here, we just like to finish the project. We'll work at our own expense. If you tell us we need to change something in the future, we'll change something in the future. But please let us close the project up before it starts raining, because then it really gets to be messy if we have a bunch of exposed soil and the rains start coming. So that's kind of where we are right now. We hope they'll look favorably upon our request, but their attorneys and ours are both involved in the wings, and so it's kind of escalated to that level. So they gave us a cease and desist order, so we can't just we can't just do what we want to do, right? Yep.
Oh, wow.
At least not without threat of fines and other penalties.
And then I wanted to follow up on, I think I was emailing you, Mr. Klein, on 1438 North Irina. I think you said you guys were going to go out and look at the tree, and you said, I think you said you were going to remove it, but I didn't have a date on when you guys were going to remove it.
We're going to be doing that in our sidewalk improvement program, our SWAT program that we have. Contractors going to be doing that because what we're going to try to do is save the trees if we possibly can. We've had a couple of interesting tree cutters in the area that have taken out trees, cut them so far back that so we're trying to save that tree.
Okay.
The sidewalk needs to be ramped and replaced. The curb and gutter needs to be replaced. So there's quite a bit of work that we're going to try to do without taking out the tree. We try to save all of our trees on all of our construction projects. When we pull the sidewalks up, we need to see what their root extent is. If the roots are trimmable, we trim them and we save the tree, but we can't destabilize the tree. So that we're waiting for our contract with that contractor to come about, which should be starting after January. And then we'll be tearing up sidewalks in our normal program that we have. So
Do you think it'll be about 3 months?
I would give it that, yes.
Okay. I saw this, sorry, I have two more and then I'm done. There was a post on social media regarding some trash cans that are on the green belt on the walkway in North Redondo. Someone was just saying, I think the dogs are peeing all over them, which is probably pretty common everywhere. Is there any way that we get those power washed or like on some type of schedule? Because there seem to be a lot of people kind of chiming in about how disgusting they were.
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I didn't use that word.
We will put that, we've been tasked with quite a few things with power washing. The same power washing crew for the Parks Department does the Esplanade. They do the Riviera. They do sections of Artesia. They do a lot of the parks. I keep these guys going. I could use another power washing crew. I could actually use two because there's enough of that to keep things clean. And then on top of that, Transit has been asking us to take care of some of the transit bus benches right now. So we've got these guys maxed out. We'll get them onto that. We have to be careful about how much water that we want to spray onto metal trash cans and things like that. But to get rid of the concrete smell, we understand.
Most of the complaints were just on the sidewalk area itself. So, I'm sorry, maybe
That'll be on I'll task item that.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just let them know it's in the future.
Did you have a specific location?
So, and there was a lot of people commenting it. I guess it's along all the green belt trash cans because people are walking their dogs there and then they just pee all over there.
Okay.
So.
Yep. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, last one, I promise. Prospect and Emerald. Apparently that location has been approved for funding for a crossing guard, but they can't find a crossing guard. And so there's been a lot of kind of near misses there. Is there any traffic mitigation that we can consider in the future to kind of slow down that area?
Before Ryan commits us to anything, I will say, yes, we can look into it.
Okay.
Ryan, do you want to give some ideas of what you might explore?
For Prospect and Emerald, if I remember that intersection correctly, near the school, I think, we can take a look at that intersection. There perhaps are some, quick build curb extensions that can be put there. One of the downsides with a quick build curb extension is it decreases the street sweeper efficacy around that area. So that's some of the trade-offs that for that. In terms of a permanent curb extension, that's something that will have to be funded and, through a future project.
Okay.
Yeah. Are there any other concerns at that intersection specifically, or?
No,
That's the first thing that comes to mind, is that
Yeah.
at the intersection, shortening the crossing distances where possible, slowing down the turns. Usually those are the.
I guess in the back of my head, I'm thinking if it was approved for a crossing guard, it's probably a high energy, impact spot. And so if we could, until they find a crossing guard, the school district or PD, if we can mitigate anything until they get to that point, we're almost
Maybe we could
mid-school year.
review timing there and just make sure we've got adequate crossing times.
Yeah, we can look at the signal timing as well. There should be adequate crossing time there, but we can check.
Yeah, we'll double check.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Here's a quick follow-up to that, Ryan, right now is how is the city implementing its leading pedestrian interval? Is there like a standard, is it something standardized that any new timing update, it's going to get it if it's around a school within X amount of feet, or how have you been exercising the installations of that?
So we've been doing them on a corridor by corridor basis, or as new projects come in. So for example, Manhattan Beach Boulevard and Inglewood Avenue, that one has been programmed in for under the LA County signal timing. So that one will be going in very soon. All the intersections along Artesia will get it once we get the new controllers. We're about to approve all the bonds and contracts for that construction. So Artesia corridor will get those. And for all of our other intersections, or sort of random intersections around the city, we've added them. Like I think at Nob Hill and Prospect, we have them there. We have them at 2 intersections along Inglewood, and we recently did Del Amo and Prospect as well. The ones where we don't have them are the locations where the controller is too old to handle the timing.
Yeah, I guess in your evaluation, then if you're gonna look at Emerald, maybe that can be considered there at Emerald as well as Vincent, which are the 2 that flank the edges of Paris.
Yeah, we'll look into that. I may have cracked open the cabinet to check if it was possible, but those controllers might be ones that are too old to handle leading pedestrian intervals.
Got it.
But we can certainly take a look.
Cool,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you so much.
Any other referrals to staff? Okay. Moving on, adjournment.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
The next meeting of the Redondo Beach Public Works and Sustainability Commission will be a regular meeting to be held. at
Actually, it'll be
7.
a special meeting,
It will be a special meeting held at 7 PM on
December 2nd.
December 2nd, here in the Redondo Beach Council Chambers at 415 Diamond Street, Redondo Beach, California.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Everyone is,
Yes.